So this is a video that I don't relish making, and I'm not trying to cause drama or start arguments or attack anyone, but I really think there is an important conversation that has to be had between Sean Head and my friend Short Fat Taku. I've known both of these people for a very long time, since Gamergate and probably before, in fact, and I like both of them very much. I really do like both of them. But it's become obvious that Sean Head is becoming radicalized towards communism. And in fact, I, with my burner account on Twitter, had tweeted at her, look, dude, by the end of the year at this rate, you're going to be a communist. And she replied with never, and then deleted that tweet. And all we see now is this radical cascade into what appears to be just full communism. And I'm just staggered by it. And it's I don't understand her objection to woke politics without also not being a communist. Because woke politics are the apotheosis of communism. They're communism applied to everything. There is no possession, no boundary, no stopping something. And this is something that she really should think about. I mean, this is a great example, right? This is where this thread begins, and I'm going to take you through it because it's important. So she says, on Jezebel.com, obviously, the worst of the woke, say, on thinner bodies, the strawberry TikTok dress skews a tiny bit fascist. To which Shu rightfully says, what? Nonsense take. Absolute nonsense take. I mean, this is the article in question, and I mean, it's this bit here. This is the precise sort of dress that Liesel from The Sound of Music would have worn to chase a burgeoning Nazi around a gazebo at night. On thinner bodies, the dress skews a tiny bit fascist. Unreal. Unbelievable. Ridiculous proposition. And so someone replies, can we please leave 2015? Don't forget you're here forever. And this is very 2015 as well. This is an embarrassingly 2015 position to have. But then Short Fat Taku's secretary on Twitter says it's also tiresome. I wish America figures out universal healthcare so the rest of the left can be jettisoned into the fucking sun. The socialists, the tankies, the woke scolds, the SJWs, all of them. Yes. I mean, I think that a kind of populist, patriotic left is definitely possible, but that cannot be rooted in Marxism. It cannot be rooted in socialism. And all of these things are. All of these things are rooted in Marxism. And so Shu says, one of these things doesn't belong. No, it does. All of these things belong. Socialism is the root of all of these problems, because socialism, in the modern sense, in the 18th and 19th centuries, there were pre-Marxist versions of socialism, but Marx has conquered that particular area of debate. All socialism now is essentially Marxism, and any of the socialists who say, well, I'm not a Marxist socialist, okay, yeah, you're an irrelevant socialist. No one's listening to you. But so the Short Fat Taku secretary says, wait a second, Shu. In the Carlin debate, you said you didn't want to dismantle capitalism, just fund a broader safety net with taxes, and I agree with you on that. And I agree with her on that, to a certain extent. There's a deeper conversation. But anyway, have you actually gone full property expropriation? And instead of answering, she says, that doesn't mean the socialists are bad. Now, that's very interesting, isn't it? Have you gone full property expropriation? That doesn't mean the socialists are bad. Well, I can't help but completely agree with Dev's secretary here. It absolutely means the socialists are bad. Dude, the Nazis were like, we're more moral and more deserving of your property because of our race, and the socialists are, we are more moral and more deserving of your property because of our class. They're both evil. Spot on from Dev. Spot on. He is. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. He is fantastic. It doesn't matter if individual socialists are friendly people. I'm sure some individual fascists were too. I mean, there are, like, Richard Spencer, his whole shtick was being polite and debonair and upper class. Like, anyone can put on a friendly face when dealing with whoever they're dealing with. But as he says, but the hard line of extremism on the right is state worship and racial supremacy, and the hard line of extremism on the left is property expropriation. He's completely correct. Now, he gets into a bit of an exchange with some smooth-brained guy who knows nothing about this. And then asks her about a stream that was done on some small communist channel called The Serfs. He says, right before you guys went on the Surf stream and went, hi guys, wow, this is cool, they were talking about the revolution, how to kill their opponents and what to do with the cops afterwards, etc. Me and Dev were watching this together because we couldn't believe just the stuff that they were saying. And then people like Anthony Fantano went on, Your Movie Sucks went on. And it's like these guys are openly discussing murder and widespread theft until everyone's property is owned by the state. And people are just going on that like this is normal. And he says, would you go on a show where Nazis talked about how best to kill the Jews? What the fuck are you doing? I don't think she's responded to this, which is disappointing. And he says, listen, I'm not trying to BTFO own you. I'm trying to tell you that the people you hang around with, they're not good moral people. This is like when Chris Reagan made excuses for Richard Spencer in 2016 out of ignorance. I hope it is for you too. And I recall this. I recall watching Chris Reagan's response to this. But in 2016, no one knew who Richard Spencer was. And so, like, when he's saying, like, hail Trump, hail our people, and everyone's like, he's a Nazi, you're conditioned to be like, look, whoever they're saying is a Nazi is probably not Nazi. It's the ultimate in the boy crying wolf. And that was, totally understandable that Chris Reagan didn't just go, oh yeah, this guy's a Nazi, because you didn't know. I mean, he did sound a bit Nazi-ish now that you think back on it. But again, once so many people have been accused of being a Nazi for such a long period of time, it's crying wolf. You have to take this with a pinch of salt. Turns out that was the case with Richard Spencer. But it's also the case that the socialists are bad. Like people like Vorsh, people like the Serfs, these are people who will kill people if given the opportunity. I mean, they just sit there talking about it. I'll get some clips and put them in so you can see exactly the sort of thing they're saying.
So there's this one thing that I have been thinking about a lot in terms of like abolition and I guess like a just transition out of policing in general, but like not just in a way that like, oh, I want like former killer cops to just like, have a easy life afterwards after we like defund and abolish all of that, but just more like, what do we do with people who have like the skills and the tactics to be a roving murder gang when they're not employed as police? Where does that factor into discussions of abolition? But I feel like that's pretty spicy because people don't want to think about cops.
And like, that's not cancelable for me. That's just real talk.
Yeah, that's sensible. I mean, the one reason that I'm not for prison abolition is what will we do with the cops?
It's a fair question.
I'm a little nervous to ask it sometimes, especially on Twitter, because it's definitely not a place that's known for nuance. And I don't really like typing out like all the things that I'm thinking. But yeah, it's just something that I'm like, wait, have we thought about the other end of I'm nervous to ask it sometimes, especially on Twitter, because it's definitely not a place that's known for nuance. And I don't really like typing out like all the things that I'm thinking. But yeah, it's just something that I'm like, wait, have we thought about the other end of these things? Because with revolution, there's always counter revolution. So, and I'm nervous because we're not a solid, I guess, we're not a solid group with ammunition and tactics and training where, if we needed to defend ourselves, right? Not yet. Yes. I want to make that clear. Not yet. But I just I don't see it in my immediate vision. So I'm wondering like how does that even happen? I think that's the cancelable part. It's just like, I might sound a little defeatist.
I guess from like the perspective of like where I sit politically, I don't necessarily think that's a defeatist attitude. I think that's a pretty like legitimate question. I think a lot of people do tend to get caught up in the sort of like fantasy world of like what it is to like do the armed thing or to do like an insurrection or to like be like anti this, anti that, and not actually like ask, well, like we have people within our society that are important, like what do we do with them or like what can we do? And so I don't think that's cancelable. I think that's a very reasonable thing. And I think people just need to have this conversation. I think a lot of people personally just uncomfortable with revolution, like in general, because like there are people that are going to lose more. Like even like we see this at protests, right? So like you'll have like white people protesting, but then like if there are like people like BIPOC people at the same protest, they're going to get like higher forms of reciprocity than like white protesters. So you have to like consider like, is your activities going to get like those more vulnerable populations like in trouble? So yeah, it's just the nature of that. So yeah, I don't think it's cancelable. I think it's reasonable.
Oh, well, thanks for the
Yeah, I feel like that's like, yeah, like a big thing. Like I know friends who will like talk about like revolution as if it's like, yeah, no, like this will be like an easy thing to like get like so many people on board with, as like as if like it's hard for like left-wing candidates to even get like elected, let alone like how many people do you think are actually willing to die in a civil war to fight for those, like if they aren't even voting for them. Like it is such a far away goal that like not that it's like wrong to want to like be thinking about that, but also to like act as if that's like a far gone like easy thing that we'll get to in any reasonable amount of time, I think is very unrealistic.
It's actually incredible that a bunch of people are getting on board with murderous extremists who actually have the intention of overthrowing capitalism, taking everyone's property, and making us all serfs of the state. That is literally what a socialist government does. It removes your property rights, so it removes your ability to have an income independent of the government, the socialist one-party dictatorship government, and they will determine every economic aspect of your life from this point onwards. This is awful. Awful in every fucking way. And so when she was just like, well, the socialists, that doesn't mean socialists are bad. No, that does mean socialists are bad. That's why people flee socialist countries. Socialism is not universal healthcare. That's not what it means. The Scandinavian countries are not socialist. European countries are not socialist. You don't win in these countries by calling yourself a socialist. Jeremy Corbyn had a landslide defeat from calling himself a socialist. Socialists are something abstract, ideological, revolutionary, and dangerous. The 20th century has shown us this. Socialism is the most dangerous thing that humanity has ever created, and you're accidentally falling into it because these assholes on the radical left are love bombing you and saying, well, this is the only way you're going to get universal healthcare. It's the only way. No, it's not the only way you're going to get universal healthcare. Like, all of Europe didn't become socialist, and we still have universal healthcare. This is not the only way to do things, and I don't think it's going to get done. I think that Donald Trump's going to win significantly because of this sort of slide towards the radical left. But dude, you've got to ask yourself, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What are you trying to go for? I mean, ask them honestly what they want, what their ideal world looks like. And I tell you what, man, it's going to involve guillotines, which is what we're seeing in Portland, the most radical expression of socialism. Because, and I have to stress this Marx thought socialism was merely a step on the way to communism. The point is that we abolish private property, first of all by collectivizing it all within the power of the state, and then educating the populace, apparently, to no longer needing the state, and the state withers away, and we're left with our communist utopia where nobody owns anything. Never works out, nobody ever gets past the collectivizing all property and tyrannizing an entire society, which is why the socialists look exactly like the fascists in practice. Exactly. And it always does. Every socialist country looks exactly that way. And it's why they've got guillotines. Just, again, the French Revolution was the first communist revolution. The Paris Commune is the first example of this. And they're burning an American flag, man. Are you on board with people who burn American flags? Are you in favour of lighting the symbol of your country on fire? Well, and it's not the flag itself. Who gives a fuck? They're burning your flag. They're burning the symbolism of it. They're burning what it represents, which is individual liberty, your personal rights. And part of your rights is owning your property. I mean, do you think your property should be appropriated? Do you think it should be taken away from you? Can you find a way to defend the United States of America at this point? That's what you have to ask yourself. And if you can't, why not? As the United States never done anything good. You've got to really ask yourself where you're going with this. Because I'm looking at, this is not the person I knew from back in the day, man. Like the things that you're on board with and the people you're hanging around, like the serfs are totally in favor of this, right? They're totally in favor of all this. Vorsh is in favor of all this. Like this is what they want. They're not shy about saying it. And it's wild how Twitch will allow these revolutionaries to stream all day going, yeah, we're going to kill the cops. We're going to get rid of all the fascists, quote unquote. We're going to exterminate the undesirables. There's a certain segment of the population who need to be killed. And Twitch are like, yeah, no problem. You know, but did you insult some woman? Did you misgender someone? Whatever it is, deplatform, deplatform, deplatform. You know, and I don't follow Twitch at all. So, I don't know who the content creators are. But I hear, like Dr. Disrespect, some guy with millions of followers, just gone for no reason. No one knows why. He doesn't know why. And it's just like, right, okay. But these people are okay. These people are right. And again, like I hung out with Anthony Fantano in 2017. He was an amazing guy. Really nice guy. And then he went full AOC and was like, no, everyone's a right-winger and everyone's evil. And he's going on the serfs as well. And I'm like, dude, this is not the person you want to be. This is not, I don't think that you think you're being good people when you pal around with these people. Like, I mean, you don't see me hanging out with the fucking Nazis, do you? You don't see me going on their streams and palling around. The only alt-right person I'm friendly with is Millennial Woes. And I know that my interactions with him have de-radicalized him over time. That's the reason I've hung out with him, to expressly continue to challenge his ideas. But that's not why you're going on the serfs. That's not why Your Movie Sucks is going on the serfs. That's not why Anthony Fantano is going on the serfs. You guys are not challenging these ideas. And it's one of those things that I'm getting really concerned about, because this is craziness and it is leading to the end of your republic. I know you might be, oh, that's hyperbolic. When Donald Trump gets a landslide win in November, because nobody's voting for the left with this kind of imagery being plastered everywhere, when he gets that landslide win, I mean, after the George Floyd protests, riots, burnings, lootings, shootings, like murders that occurred because of a false narrative about George Floyd, when Trump wins again in November from a bigger margin, what do you think these people are going to do? It's not going to look pretty, is it? And you're putting your name to this when you get into bed with the socialists. And go, the socialists aren't bad. They're bad. They're bad people, mate. They're really bad people. And I don't think you're a bad person. Anthony Fantano, I don't think you're a bad person either. Your Movie Sucks, I know is a good person. I've been watching his channel for years. He's awesome. And it's weird how they all go and think that it's okay to hang out with murderous revolutionaries. I think that's terrible. I think that's really terrible. It's shocking, frankly, how everything's become radicalized. But anyway, I'll leave it there. And I don't think any of them will respond to this, but it's a shame, because I think that they should. I think they should explain to us why these people are worth hanging out with, why we should take their ideas seriously, why we can't look at the tremendous damage to humankind that these people have done, and the complete lack of results as well. They've never achieved their goals, and say, why are we listening to these lunatics? Anyway, folks, if you'd like to support the channel, you can check out our merch store, and the latest stuff done by Johnny and Callum, Callum told me off because it was him that actually designed this, is the Yuri Bezmenov-inspired methods of subversion. And I tell you what, man, all I'm seeing these days is Yuri going, well, we go in, we demoralize people, we are destabilizing things, which I think we can say that's going on, crisis, which I think is what's going to happen after the election in November, and then whatever normalization looks like, God only knows. But this is what we're looking at. And I don't know why we're not just openly calling that out. Because again, I am still the kind of centrist liberal that I've always thought of myself. My principles haven't changed. The things that I want haven't changed. I just want the communists to goddamn well stop. Anyway, folks, links will be in the description. I'll see you in the next video.